Everybody, welcome back to World History with Mr. Finn. We are continuing to take a look at Europe getting thrust into what we call the Dark Ages, but are really known as the medieval times or Middle Ages. The Dark Ages is kind of just the term that means like a lack of education or kind of going backwards as far as, society and things like that would be concerned. So, if you remember, we got to Clovis, who was our first Germanic king, started the Frankish Empire, and today we're just briefly going to look at kind of what society, how we got broken down to the Dark Ages, Middle Ages of Europe during this time period. Like I said, the first thing is we have a lack of education. Why do we have a lack of education? Well, the important thing to these people was survival. You have to think about it this way. In Europe, what had governed all of it basically was Rome. All right? Rome governed everything. Rome made sense of everything. It was the government. They ran the currency. Their economy was based on it. The Roman Empire was huge. Everything operated within the Roman Empire. But as we know, no Roman Empire. So think about this. Without the Roman Empire, what you're doing is you are losing stability. And when I say losing stability, it means that things start to get crazy. Why do things get crazy? Think about this. You're losing stability. Really, for us, we would say losing, we would imagine it like if you lose the government. So if we lost the government, say the government was overthrown and everything was crazy and we were still living here, the point is, who do you turn to when you need help or you need defense or you need something? Police officers are paid with tax dollars, meaning that my money from my job that is given/taken by the government goes to pay for police officers and firefighters and road repair and bridges and all kinds of stuff that the government uses my money along with everybody else who pays taxes, uses that money to do things for everyone in different ways and fund different things. Now, if the government was not there, it's I don't got to pay taxes. However, where's the police? What happens if someone robs me? What happens if something is burning down? Where are the firefighters? We lose stability. There is nothing that is keeping anything stable once Rome collapses because the government goes away. There's no more emperor and empire in the West. It is now these Germanic kings, and it's kind of every man/woman for themselves. Where do you live? Who's in charge? What strong man has taken over your area and set up that kingdom? And that is essentially what happens to Western Europe. Once Rome goes, you lose the government. Once you lose the government, you lose stability. There's no more legal system. There's no more education. There's no more any of that stuff. It is now every man for himself, and that's what's going on in Western Europe. So, as we move away from actual Rome and we lose the stability, what we're going to see is Romans and Germanic peoples mix. And I mean mix in all kinds of different ways. They get married to each other, have kids with each other, and families and extended families. Their customs and languages change. We start to see different dialects and different languages. If you remember during the Roman times in the Western Empire, it was Latin, and in the eastern part of the empire, they spoke Greek. All of a sudden, these Germanic languages start popping up. In fact, even today, we call them the Romance languages. For Rome, Romance is where they come from. And so languages like English, German, French, all of these dialects come out of this mixing of people and mixing of customs, new languages, new religions, new stuff. However, you would not want the new stuff. You would, if you could go back in Mr. Finn's time machine, you would want to go back to the Roman Empire because there was stability, there was law and order, people knew how to do things, what was happening. The new customs that are coming out, for example, one thing, and it's actually a term, so you might have it on a quiz, was an ordeal. An ordeal was a new way of determining guilt or innocence. So, during Roman times, guess what? You had a court system. Let me get out of the way of ordeal. You had a court system. You had to be proven guilty. You had like law and order, just like we would have today. In the new customs that are coming out, you start to see that replaced with ordeals or trial by ordeals. Some examples of this. This is going to be, let me just give you a definition. Physical, the best way to put it is physical tasks to determine, for our definition, guilt. Guilt or innocence, you could even put that there. There are physical tasks that are designed to determine if you are guilty or innocent. So, for example, I remember hearing about this one where they would have a huge pot of boiling water and then drop a pebble into it, and you had to stick your hand into the boiling water and pull out a pebble, and then if you healed well, it meant you were innocent. And if you didn't, you were obviously guilty. Now, this ordeal is going to be based on something else we're going to talk about. What's going to be replaced, when you're losing stability and losing law and order and you don't know what's what, this is going to be a direct reflection of religion. Your religion is going to now take over. Let me see one thing. Yeah, okay. Just want to make sure there was an I there. But I put it in there, but you can't really see. I don't want to misspell any words here. Religion is going to take over everything, all right? So here's the idea. Well, if you heal well, obviously you were innocent in the eyes of God, and you healed better, and so that meant that you were innocent. So things are going to be based on religion more and less science. Religion and science always kind of clash. Even today they have this one and the same. Religion is based on faith, things that you cannot see, but you have faith in them. And science is based on, I can see it and prove it. And so religion and science, because of what they are always at ends. And so we start to go away from math, science, and go towards religion. So it's a shift of how people are doing things. On top of that, religion also does this. And this is important for society. And that is, religion is going to be organized. Religion is organized. If you remember, we talked about the early days of Christianity and how they had like missionaries and they got out there and they spread the word of Jesus and his teachings and got very organized. And so what we're going to have here is in a time period when there are no big cities, there's no big government, there's no nothing, who do we turn to? The church as leaders. And so you have kings and you have the church, and those two together are going to be what is in charge of all of these people in Western Europe. So when I say organized, this is religion, we see things like an abbey. An abbey is, let's say, a house of monks. Monks would be people who religious leaders in their own right. Monks would be at the lower end. They would be generally a huge number of monks would live in these abbeys, and they would be copying down manuscripts and spending their time reading, studying the Lord. That's what they would do. And they could speak to religion. On top of that, you would have a bishop who was in charge of the monks at the abbey. You saw females, women. Women become nuns. Nuns are the role that women fill within this church organization, living in these abbeys. You had to hit the top of the religion itself, way up at the top. The leader would be the Pope. Just in case you don't know, leader of the church, and really leader of the whole church. Like, he is it. The Pope is the leader of the entire Catholic Church. So you have, the Pope. You would have cardinals, archbishops, bishops, monks, nuns. There was all of these different groups and organization, and they did a lot of things to really spread the word and help spread the word of Christianity to these, new groups of people, these Germanic peoples who were mixing with the Roman people. There was missionary work. Missionaries are people who, like I just said, spread the religion. And they go around teaching these Germanic peoples about the religion and trying to bring them into the religion. So you see a lot of mixing of, Germanic old world like religions that are mixing with this Christianity. So you get new things that come out of it. But in the end, what we're seeing as we go this way, and I think it's important to understand this, is that this transition is what it is. 476 AD, as we get to around like 550 AD. In this first 75 years, first 100 years after the fall of Rome, we are really just doing this. We are making a transition of science to religion. That is what we are doing. Science to religion. So what is more important to a monk in these abbeys? They would say, listen, what's more important, learning how to read and write or making sure that you go to heaven? Your soul is more important. Religion is more important. We care about this. We're trying to save your soul. Religion is mixing again with these Germanic kings who are coming around and establishing these kingdoms. And that's what life becomes. Plus, I didn't really get into it, but the idea of losing that stability of the government, losing education, losing science and math and all that stuff, that plays a role in everyday life, all right? What happens if you get sick? I don't know. You must have sinned if you got sick. That's what happened. In Roman times, they would have medicine and treatments and things like that. Why did certain things happen? Romans and Roman culture would look to explain it scientifically, explain what's going on, figure it out. Without education, without any of that, you lose, the ability to figure anything out. Romans had a sewer system to get waste. They had toilets and things like that. Gone. Think about this. Do you know how to make a toilet? What happens if society collapsed around you and your toilet broke? What would you do? How would you fix that toilet? Do you know how to do that? If you don't have the education, you don't have the people to do these things, stuff is only as good as it lasts, and after 100 years, things are going away. Like, these people would have lived during a time where they could have seen huge aqueducts and huge engineering feats and things that happened 100, 200, 300 years before and be like, wow, life was better before my time. We don't have that now, right? iPhones. You see, we are moving forward in new ways, technology-wise, education-wise, and whatever. We don't look back at history and be like, man, they had everything back then. We don't have anything now. We look at it like we have stuff now, and we all probably envision the future having even more stuff. We don't imagine a future in which, cell phone networks break down and everything's gone and things are destroyed. No, we imagine it getting better. Well, these people now are living at a time where they're looking back going, those people knew how to do everything. Look what they made. There's incredible engineering feats and all this other stuff. We don't got that. And so it just spirals out of control to the point where people are living in small shacks, in small, muddy, rural areas, no cities. It would have been a pretty dismal time to be alive at this point. So, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and turn these in today. We'll probably have a quiz coming up in the next couple classes. But for participation and attendance purposes, let me see the notes today, and I will see you next class.